You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, yeah. How about that? First home victory for the Detroit Pistons on the backs of Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, who messed around and got a triple-double. It's a character-building win that we will break down. Best game of the season for Jaden Ivey, and Cade made the plays when it mattered the most. We'll talk about that, and I'll close it out with my studs and duds. That's all coming up next on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. As always, I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma, and we appreciate you making the Locked On Pistons postcast your destination for all things Detroit sports on the postgame side of things. Locked On Sports Detroit. Appreciate if you like and subscribe. It helps us out a great deal, and we appreciate it. Thanks also for making this your first listen each and every day following the final whistle. And don't forget, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter, your one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. How about that? You can sign up, and oh yeah, it's free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Want to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, making the Locked On Pistons postcast possible. That's FanDuel. That's right. With a FanDuel, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, what a show we have lined up for you. It's always more fun when the Detroit Pistons play the way they did. And I tell you what, folks, they are building a culture. JB Bickerstaff had his guys playing dominant defense, and it looked like Pistons teams of old. 115-103, second night of a back-to-back. It does not matter. This team was getting every loose ball. They were making the hustle plays, and it truly was the gritty type of defensive performance that propelled them to victory, and that is Pistons basketball. That is the DNA of Pistons teams in the past, and we're starting to see that take shape here in the early going. I know there's been some tough sledding, and there will continue to be with the amount of young guys you have playing and the new staff and everything like that. But man, was tonight a significant step forward and a lot of fun to take in if you're a Detroit Pistons fan. As always, it's a collaborative program, so we'll get to your comments a little bit later on in the show. But I want to talk about that Pistons defense right away, because that's where I have the character building win. There was times where LA looked like the team that was playing the second night of a back-to-back, not the Detroit Pistons. There were times where LeBron looked bothered to be there. Austin Reeves, you saw him get a little bit fired up and get the technical foul because of how uncomfortable the Detroit Pistons collectively were making some of LA's stars. They weren't used to having that pressure on them, that type of hard-nosed defense that truly is going to become the identity of this Detroit Pistons team. Now, as we break this one down quarter by quarter, I thought it was a nice start for the Pistons. They jump out to that 33-22 lead after one quarter of play. And Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris came to play in that first half. In that first quarter, rather. They combined for 21 first quarter points. The Lakers had just 22. So again, it might sound like a broken record throughout this program, but the defense bothered the Lakers, made them uncomfortable, and so often in the National Basketball Association, you talk about load management, you talk about guys not wanting to play in the second night of a back-to-back. It did not matter. Not to mention the road trip, or I guess the travel from New York to Detroit mixed in with that. So it wasn't like it was 2 straight games at home or 2 straight games on the road. No, it was a traveling second night of a back-to-back, and it did not matter for the Detroit Pistons. They had the edge tonight. They had the X extra step. And then you get the contributions from your guys that you're counting on, like Jaden Ivey, like Cade Cunningham. That sequence in the second half in the second quarter rather, where you've got Cade Cunningham bodying up LeBron and playing great defense on him. And LeBron's trying to ISO him, trying to teach the young kid a lesson. But in fact, it was Cade Cunningham that stood tall. That's the kind of thing that fires me up. That's the kind of thing that all of us who have been watching Pistons basketball, watching losing Pistons basketball for way too long, are just so excited to see. And man, tonight was one that you replay that game film and you think this is what this team can be. Make no mistake about it. Obviously, the Lakers, a dang good basketball team coming into tonight, and a character building win for the Detroit Pistons is how we'll remember tonight. Also, in that third quarter, I know the Lakers started to make a run and the offense went very stagnant. You're not going to win a lot of games when you have a quarter and you only score 16 points, but Detroit weathered the storm. You knew the Lakers were going to make it close. You knew that Anthony Davis is too good. There really wasn't a matchup for the Pistons to be had against Anthony Davis, and that's why you see him go off for 37 points. They had no answer for him, but they didn't let the rest of the supporting cast beat them, which I think jumps out to you tonight based on the kind of the cards that you're dealt with. Okay, you understand Anthony Davis is a guy that can go for 37, but the next highest score is LeBron with 20 points. He was 7 of 16 from the floor. 5 of those coming from the charity stripe. He's going to get his as well, but nobody else really stepped up for the Lakers. 17 for Reeves, but just 3 for 10 from the long line. And I would argue that he was more of a detriment to the Lakers tonight than an asset based on the way the Pistons made him uncomfortable. He lost composure with the technical foul. And so again, that speaks to the identity and the character of this team. You saw Ron Holland make a couple of plays in that second half. Didn't have as good of a first half, but in the second half added a little bit of a spark, and that's what you're looking for from the rookie. Now, Jaden Ivey is who you want to talk about after tonight's game for the majority of this opening segment, because it was his best game of the season. And not just because he led the way with points, but he just looked so much more comfortable. He looked so much more confident. He looked in rhythm. If you care about the analytics or the numbers, he was plus 20 tonight. Really efficient game, 10 of 16 from the floor. He took care of the basketball. Turnovers are going to happen. We talked about how many turnovers Cade had after the win in Brooklyn over the Nets, and together they still had 7 turnovers, but the rest of the team didn't turn the ball over a great deal. So as a team, the Pistons limiting those turnovers to just 12, 4 for Jaden Ivey, 3 for Cade Cunningham. And again, just the overall body language, the aura. I know the kids love to use that one, but the overall look of Jaden Ivey tonight was special. The way they closed that game out in the fourth also speaks to what that backcourt duo could do for the Detroit Pistons and how good those two complemented one another in the moments that mattered the most. Even though the Lakers made that 8-2 run in the fourth and got really close down the stretch, it was the combination of Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey that propelled the Pistons to victory tonight, which is what you love to see. And especially Jaden Ivey being able to turn it on and really carry this Pistons team offensively throughout the course of this game. And then Cade Cunningham, you turn to your leader, and he is the unquestioned leader of this team. And that's what you love to see from Cade Cunningham. Now, I also love, you got to mention when Tobias Harris, I know he kind of had a streaky game. At times he looked really good, other times not so much, but he put Cam Reddish in the spin cycle there. I wanted to make sure I got to that. I made notes of that, because anytime you can add a little, little wow factor, a little pizzazzle, if you will, and get the crowd going, you got to love it. And speaking of the crowd, how about a shout out to the Detroit Lions players that were there, the running back room with David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jermar Jefferson was there as well. I believe Craig Reynolds joined the guys as well. So you love the support from the city, all kinds of good stuff going on there. And if you were at the game, let me know, and we'll get to the comments in just a second. But our friend from Locked On Lions, Matt Derry, was at the game, said the environment was fantastic. And really, this is the type of stuff you get excited for, because we just haven't seen it in so long because of the bad basketball than's been played in years past. But man, JB Bickerstaff, all the credit to him having his guys ready to go for a character building win in the second night of a back-to-back. The Detroit Pistons get it done, 115-103. They own that fourth quarter, outscoring the Lakers 32-26. They withstand the run from the Lakers and ultimately get the gritty dub. And that's what it's all about. All right, we'll talk more about Jaden Ivey's breakout game. We'll take your comments as well, and we'll continue along with the Locked On Pistons postcast. As always, we'll close it out with our studs and duds. That's all coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Your comments are next on the Locked On Pistons postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. Listen up. Therapy is important. It's like exercise for your brain, for your well-being, and there's a lot of different approaches to therapy. But with BetterHelp, the great thing about BetterHelp is that it's designed to be convenient, flexible. Listen, this is a difficult time. The holidays are coming up, and sometimes that can spark, different emotions and that sort of things. And everybody's going through something a little bit different. And that's why talking about it is so important. And BetterHelp is here for exactly that. Take a moment to say thank you to someone in your life. That includes your therapist. This month, it's all about gratitude. And along with the person you shouted out, there's always something you don't get to say thank you for enough, and that is yourself. Sometimes it's hard to remind ourselves that we're trying to be our best and make sense of everything that's going on in this crazy world. Listen, it's not easy, but here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, and that includes yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, and like I said, it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. It just makes a ton of sense to approach therapy this way. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. It's all about finding that right fit. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, cruising right along on a Locked On Pistons postcast on a victory Monday, the second night of a back-to-back. That's 2 in a row for the Detroit Pistons, who are now 3-5 on the season after earning their first home victory. Tuning in on YouTube. Appreciate your flexibility. We're on the road. That's right. Some sports broadcasting assignments have me on the road this week, announcing a little pro tennis action. So I am holding it down in a hotel. That's why you don't see the assortment of bobbleheads or Detroit Pistons, Lions, Tigers, all that apparel and everything else that we've got going in the normal home studio. But like I said, we appreciate your flexibility. So Jaden Ivey has his best game as the Detroit Piston this season. No doubt about it. I think what stood out to me with him was just his overall confidence on the floor. In 35 minutes, plus 20. So he's making a positive impact and really playing a solid brand of basketball when his plus minus, and I know that's not the end all be all, but it's just something that just jumps right off that box score to see how well he impacted that game for the Detroit Pistons. Got it done in a couple of different ways, and go ahead and add 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and the 26 points for Jaden Ivey. Awesome game for him. And then the combination of Cade Cunningham with the triple-double, 11 assists. So when the defense for the Lakers were helping off of their defender or off of their guy, it was Cade Cunningham finding the open man, finding the players to be set up for success. Cade was plus 14 in this game as well, and go ahead and add 11 rebounds to his point total for that triple-double. Just 1 of 5 from the long line, but that will come. He's asked to do so much, and that is what you see from Cade Cunningham being really, really good. Don't forget about how good he was defensively as well, and I haven't shouted him out yet, but Jalen Duren played a great game defensively as well, and at times, especially in that third quarter, I made note of this, that he really dominated in the paint. And, listen, this Lakers team, for being one of the more prolific teams offensively, were really bothered the entire evening. And that takes all five on the floor communicating, playing good team defense. And that's what you saw tonight. We'll get to more of this in the duds portion of the program, but Isaiah Stewart can't have that technical foul. I know he's an emotional, fiery guy, but that's something you have to take out. But like I said, more of that on the studs and duds program. All right, I promised we'd get to your comments. That's up next. We go to Alan Humphrey up first. He just gives us a good old-fashioned all caps. Yay! I envision that's how you're saying it with the all caps, Alan. So appreciate you tuning in. And it's my guy, DJ. That's right, DJ. I love you, man. A proud friend of the program on Locked On Sports Detroit on a multitude of levels. Locked On Tigers postcast. He was with us all summer. And of course, the Locked On Lions postcast. But DJ says that is exactly the type of play we drafted those two for. LFG. There's no doubt about it. And Greg Kessler said this on the broadcast. I completely agree. This is the type of game that silences the critics that said Cade and Ivey couldn't play together, because tonight they certainly could, and they took down the Lakers together. All right, Marley Caro says Mr. Triple-Double is back. What a win. Completely agree. It just goes to more of what we said about how these two guys can play together, and they did tonight, but Cade Cunningham was really, really good. Lima was at the game. I'm very proud of the energy we played with today. JB definitely has this team engaged and motivated to play hard. Hey, bonus points to you for being at the game and giving us a little report from LCA. And that's what we love to hear, because I think LCA can be a great environment if the product yields that type of crowd support. And I mean, we've seen it with the Lions. Ford Field has become one of the toughest places to play, not just because the team is so good, but of course, because of the home field advantage created by the crowd. Would love to see LCA become that same way. Demetrius McNeil, friend of the program. Cade messing around and got a triple-double. Absolutely. Gabriel Meza says, what a freaking game. Cade and J.I. showed up big time. Tim hit some massive shots too. I'm glad you said that, because I mentioned it off the cusp, but I think it does deserve more of a deep dive, especially in that first quarter. Tim Hardaway Jr. deserves a lot of credit. We know he was brought in to stretch the defense with his three-point shooting ability. 4 for 8 from the long line. You'll take that every single night. 19 points for Tim Hardaway Jr. in 32 minutes. Really good stuff by him as well. And that's another reason why you made that trade with the Dallas Mavericks to bring in a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. Ronald Lutella, congratulations, Pistons. Absolutely. And hopefully this sparks something, and I know the win on the road against Brooklyn, you'll take a win anytime, no matter what, even if it is an ugly win, but that wasn't the best brand of basketball that this Pistons team can play. They had over 20 turnovers. Tonight was the type of game you look at, you turn the film on and you look back in this and say, this is the type of game we want to play. This is our A game, if you will. Bring it night in and night out, and let's hope to continue to stockpile these wins and get back to where this Pistons team is a respectable foe in the Eastern Conference. And tonight was a giant step to get exactly to that point. Man, I'm fired up because this Detroit Pistons team showed us a lot tonight, and even though I'm on the road, it was great to tune into this game, hear George Blaha on the call, Special K, and the rest of the broadcast crew just bringing all the energy as well. And man, it would just mean so much to me, to you, to every Pistons fan, if this team can once again get back to the going to work era Pistons, the bad boy era Pistons, and just be something that this city can be proud of. So we're going to tie a bow on this one, and another gritty win in the books for the Detroit Pistons with the studs and duds portion of the program. Don't go anywhere. That's next on the Locked On Pistons postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. That's right. America's #1 sportsbook is here, and it's time to get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So make sure you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. We're talking about live play-by-play, the sportsbook, all that. It's right there. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, check it out, check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. It's all on the same page where you place your live bets. Efficiency, people, one-stop shop. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com and join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Closing it out after an impressive statement victory for the Detroit Pistons over the Los Angeles Lakers. Final score 115-103. Detroit now 3-5 on the season, 1-3 at home. Lakers fall to 4-3. And I meant to mention this earlier, but JJ Redick, you just a little B word, man. Come on. You're gonna storm off the court. You're not gonna shake anybody's hand. Come on. That's loser stuff. That is typical. Oh, I'm JJ Redick. Oh, I was on ESPN. I never had a coaching job, and now all of a sudden I'm the coach of the Lakers, and I'm so smart. Yeah. Come on, man. You're gonna lose some games in the NBA. That's the way it works. Shake hands, dap up like everybody else. Your life's not that hard, man. I should probably maybe no. You know what? No, I'm standing by it. That's how I feel. Let me know if you feel the same way in the comments. If you notice how JJ just kind of skirmished off. I don't even think that's a word. Scurried. That's the word I'm looking for. See, I'm all fired up about it. But he just scurried off after the game and couldn't be bothered. But studs and duds portion of the program before we look ahead to the Pistons' remaining schedule or upcoming schedule. There's a long remaining schedule. Got a lot of games left, but there are some winnable games in the near future. So I hope this Pistons team can start to build some momentum and stockpile some victories. Now, one more comment to get to before we get to the studs and duds portion of the program. And Gabriel agrees with me 100%. He's so entitled and adds the laughing, crying emoji. I completely agree. Thank you. I mean, it's just like, come on, man. Listen, I'm all for the importance in making every moment matter, if you will. And I know it's November basketball, but shake hands. Like, come on. That was a bad look for him, in my opinion, but I doubt he'll get nobody will say anything negative about it because it's the Lakers and Detroit versus everybody. All right. Studs and duds portion of the program. Studs are pretty obvious tonight. It's Jaden Ivey who led the way for the Detroit Pistons. I've said it time and time again on this program already. He was efficient. He was effective. He had the confidence. He was plus 20 with 26 points. You'll take that every night of the week. You'll take that every day that ends in Y. And my goodness, did he look like a bona fide pro out there tonight. And it was a giant step forward in what he can be for this Detroit Pistons basketball team. Add Cade Cunningham to the studs list as well. 17 points plus 14. Messed around and got a triple-double, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, and made some big plays in crunch time. And, made some big plays defensively as well. Duds. Now, I mentioned it, but Isaiah Stewart can't be getting technical fouls when it's an important time in the game in the fourth quarter. I know it was a call that went against him. It probably wasn't the right call or the best call. And it really didn't even look like he did a lot to warrant the technical, but you saw Cade go right over there right away, and that shows a lot of leadership. And hopefully, obviously, there's been times where Isaiah Stewart has ran in against the Lakers of all teams. It's a pretty good, a little bit ironic there when we look back to several years ago. In fact, not to take story time here, but that was the first night I ever did Detroit Pistons pregame and postgame on 97 The Ticket. The Pistons flagship was when Isaiah Stewart and LeBron got into the tussle. So needless to say, that was an exciting one to talk about. There was a lot of stuff going on, but in all seriousness, Isaiah Stewart can't lose his head out there because it's going to cost this team in a big moment at some point if he continues to do that. So like the leadership from Cade going right over there saying, hey, we can't have that. And to his credit, he turned it around, and it didn't become a mistake that, yielded multiple mistakes. It was nipped in the bud, and the Pistons move on and get the victory. So those are the studs and duds of the evening. Up next for the Detroit Pistons, they will take on the Charlotte Hornets Wednesday night. That's a 7:00 tip-off, and a very winnable game for the Detroit Pistons when you look at what this matchup could mean and starting to stockpile some victories. Then it's Friday night at home. I should mention Wednesday's game is in Charlotte against the Hornets. Friday night's game at home against the Hawks before Sunday taking on the Rockets. That one's also home as well. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of the Locked On Pistons postcast. As always, your comments are so appreciated. Make sure you check out Locked On Pistons with Koo. Shout out to Koo. I love his kudos player of the game. It's one of my favorite portions of his program, and what a tremendous job he does. In fact, I listened to Locked On Pistons on my drive to the hotel, and I always enjoy catching up on that program as well. Program, that's right. But Pistons win this one 115-103. And don't forget, we've been telling you all about it, but it's worth repeating. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter, one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. My thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, liking today's video. Send it to a friend. That would be greatly appreciated as we continue to grow Locked On Sports Detroit. And what a nice couple of games from the Detroit Pistons. The Lions get a big win. We are feeling good on Locked On Sports Detroit. That's why you should subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Locked On Pistons postcast. Until then, have a wonderful night and see ya.